In today's Rambam, in Hilchos Avos Hatuma, Avos Hatuma Perek Tes, Halacha Hey. Rambam talks about the Tuma that the Rabbanon were gazer on Kisvei Kedesh. Dr. Rambam. Initially, people would put breads of Truma next to Sforim, the Emim Zekoidish, Vezekoidish, Uboin Hoachborim, the Keren Asasforim. People would say the Truma is Kodesh, they put them with the Sforim that are Kodesh, mice would come and they rip up the Sforim. Fichoch Gozru Shekol Truma Shetiga Be'echod Mikisvei HaKedesh, Nitmeis, Varehi Keshlishi Letuma, Ki'ilu Nogu B'Sheni, V'nimtzu Kol Kisvei HaKedesh, Peislin Es HaTruma Kesheni. That was the initial Gzeira, that the people were abusing Truma, the Kisvei Kedesh, putting Truma next to them, that was causing an abuse to the Kisvei Kedesh. So he said, if Kisvei Kedesh touched Truma, so it makes it possible, it makes it Tom. There's one of the Yudches Dover that's discussed, that's mentioned in the Mishnah in the beginning of Masechta Shabbos, that the Chachamim were gazer, and this is one of those things. Then the Rambam adds, V'lo yoyt, ela misha hu yodov teheris, v'noga be'echod mikisvei hakedesh, nasu yodov shniyis. Not only the Kisvei Kedesh are metame Truma, but if a person touches, he had Torah dike hands and he touches one of the Kisvei Kedesh, nasu yodov shniyis umetame nesa Truma. That if you touch with your hands Kisvei Kedesh, your hands become Tomei and they're metame Truma. Yeah. This is an additional takon, that if you touch with your hands Kisvei Kodesh, your hands passel Truma. And that goes the Hemshech, the next few halachas, Vav and Zayin, and Ches, and Tes, and Yud. That is till the end of the Perek, is all about different types of Kisvei Kodesh that have this din, that Kisvei Kodesh are metame Truma, and not just the Kisvei Kodesh themselves, but if you touch with your hands Kisvei Kodesh, then your hands in turn are metame the Truma. That's the Rambam. And this Rambam, there's a Tzorachin of Rabbi Akiva Eiger. It's brought on here, and there's some of the Rambams bring Rabbi Akiva Eiger. It's really from the Tshuvas, Siman Ches, in Erachayim. And I want to explain to understand the Tzorachiyun, that from verstehen the halacha. Basically, the shaila is, what is the Hagdara, what is this halacha of hands that touch Kisvei Kedesh, that makes Truma, that passels Truma. So the Makir Din is the Gemara, like I said before, Masechta Shabbos, Daf Yudalet, where the Gemara is going through the Yudches Dover that the Chachamim will Misaki. So the Gemara says, and I'm reading Shabbos Daf Yudalet, the Sefer, my time it goes to the Rabbanon Tuma. What's the reason that the Rabbanon were gazer Tuma na Sefer? Omer Rav Mesharshia. The reason the Rambam told us, Shebetchiloi Masnin Aseichel in the Truma, it's a Sefer Torah. V'Amru Hai Kedesh v'Hai Kedesh, Kiven the Kechozu the Kaasul the Pseder Gozru be Rabbanon Tuma. So that's the din that the Rambam told us. The Rabbanon were gazer on a Sefer that is metami. That's the din of the Yudches, one of the Yudches Gzeiros. Then the Gemara says a little later, Tonne af Yodayim habois machma Sefer pesles esatruna. Also, hands that touch the Sefer, they also pass the Truma. Mishum the Rabbi Parnoch. That comes from the din of Rabbi Parnoch. The Omer Rabbi Parnoch, Omer Rabbi Yechanon. Sefer Torah Orum. A person who holds a Sefer Torah when the Sefer Torah is Orum. That means the Sefer Torah is not covered with a cloth, with a mitpachas. Nikbar Orum. So the person will be buried Orum. Will be also buried without a clothing. Orum salkadaitach. Elam and Abzeira Orum b'lei mitzvahs. He won't have mitzvahs. B'lei mitzvahs salkadaitach. Elema Orum b'lei esam mitzvah. Beseder. There's a din of Reb Parnoch, and he says you have to hold the Sefer Torah when it's covered. And he said, Sefer Torah Orum, a person who holds the Sefer Torah is not covered, so then he'll be buried Orum. The Gemara says doesn't mean literally Orum b'lei mitzvahs, or Orum b'lei esem mitzvah, not the mitzvah that you're doing while you're holding the Sefer Torah, when the Sefer Torah is not covered. Al Kapanim, what's negia is that this Gemara said that what's the reason why when you touch a Sefer Torah with your hands, so your hands then passel Truma, is midir Reb Parnoch, because of Reb Parnoch's din that you're not allowed to hold the Sefer Torah when it's uncovered. In other words, Reb Parnoch said a din, an isser, that you're not allowed to touch a Sefer Torah without a mantle, without its covering. So therefore, because Reb Parnoch said that isser of holding the Sefer Torah Arum, so that's why the Chachamim were gazer that if you touch a Sefer Torah and then you touch Truma, that Truma is Tumah. In other words, I hope I'm not being repetitious. I want to make clear. What's the reason why a Sefer Torah is Metamet Truma? So the Misharshi said that was because of the Gzeira that you put Truma into the Sefer Torah, and the Sefer Torah, the Kisvei Kodesh are going to be ruined by Achborim. So Mela, they said that Kisvei Kodesh are Metamet Truma. What's the reason for the additional din that when your hands touch a Sefer Torah, a Kisvei Kodesh, so they're also Metamet Truma? That the Gemara says Meshum de Parnach, because of the Parnach's din. Of a Eicher Sefer Torah Orim, you're not allowed to touch a Sefer Torah without garments. No. The Parnach's din l'chure is a din in Sefer Torah, Eicher Sefer Torah Orim. Legabi Kisvei Kodesh, any Kisvei Kodesh, when you touch them, then your hands now become something that are pastel truma. So how do we get from the Parnach's din, which the Parnach's din was a din and not touching a Sefer Torah, to the din that all Kisvei Kodesh, when you touch them, your hands now are metamet truma. So says Tosfos right over here, Afanort, that the Parnach said Eicher Sefer Torah Orum, Ktsas Mashma Lav Dafke Sefer Torah. The Hakol Kisvei Kodesh Tanan b'Masechta Yadayim shemetamen as Yadayim. In other words, Parnach says Sefer Torah, but the Gemara is saying that the din that when your hands touch Kisvei Kodesh, they're metame, is because of a Parnach. So Tosfos Musman Zogen, it's mashma that Rav Parnach wasn't just talking about a Sefer Torah. Taki, his lashon is Eicher Sefer Torah Orum, but Rav Parnach wasn't just talking about a Sefer Torah. He must have been talking about all Kisvei Kodesh. They're not allowed to touch all Kisvei Kodesh. As they state in Tosfos though, when I say Zogen under Rishon Mech. However, Rabbi Eli Eiger brings, but Tosfos Masech Chagig alone says no. Says a different shot. It says it's a Machlekes Abalei Tosfos. Masech Chagig Tosfos Nafidalet. Or I'm sorry, Chavdal Dachsich says that no, the Parnach's din was only Sefer Torah. Ha'eches Sefer Torah. So when the Gemara says over here in Shabbos that when they were gezer Tuman Yadayim Abois Machma Sefer, Mitzad the din of the Parnach, that's taka only Yadayim that touched the Sefer Torah. Ayin Masechta Yadayim, it says that whenever you touch any Kisvei Kodesh, your hands become tamei. Says Tosfos, that's talking not a tumah, that's metamet truma. That's a different din. That's tamei l'kodesh, and that's because since they were gezer that a sefer, any kisvei kodesh are metamet truma. So it's all kisvei kodesh are metamet truma. So when your hand touches it, your hand becomes something that's metamet kodesh, but it's not metamet truma. In other words, to be clear, we're trying to figure out what is the yesod of the din that when you touch kisvei kodesh, your hands now are metame truma. That's the shaila. When Kisvei Kodesh touch truma, they make it tamei because of the gzeira of achborim. That's pashut. But what about the additional din that when your hand touches Kisvei Kodesh and now it goes and touches truma, that when your hand touches Kisvei Kodesh, now the hands are metame. What's the yesod of that din? So the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos Daf Yidal that's midra of Parnach, because the Parnach said ha'oiches Sefer Torah orum nikbar orum, that there's a Isur to Eicher Sefer Torah Orim. That's the mocker that in the Gemara says that the Yadayim Habois Machma Sefer are Metame. Fretzich the Shaila, but Rav Parnach was talking about a Sefer Torah. So there's two mahalach. One mahalach is, no, Rav Parnach was talking about all Kisvei Kodesh, as they state in Tosfos. Rav Parnach was talking about all Kisvei Kodesh, that you're not allowed to touch any Kisvei Kodesh when they're not covered, and therefore, if you touch them, your hands are Metame Truma, because you did the Isur of touching Kisvei Kodesh. Or you have Tosfos Masechta Chagiga that says no, the Parnach was only talking about Sefer Torah, and therefore the din that Yudayim that touch a Sefer Torah are Metamet Truma is taka only by Sefer Torah, and the Yudayim that touch any Kisvei Kodesh, they're not Metamet Truma. That's a different din of Metamet Kodesh. So we have two mahalchim in Tosfos, and that rather the Rash on Mishnayos learns like Tosfos and Chagiga. That in Echanam Yadayim that touch Stam Kisvei Kodesh are not metamet truma. That's how the Rash learns. Al Kabarim, it comes out a big machlekes Harishenim, Balei Tosfos and the Rash and others. What's the din of Yadayim that touch Kisvei Kodesh are metame? So one way is that it's the Gemara says it's because of Rav Parnach. Yadayim that touch Kisvei Kodesh are metamet truma mid Rav Parnach. So one is that Rav Parnach was talking about all Kisvei Kodesh. So therefore, all Yadayim that touch any Kisvei Kodesh are metamet truma because of the Isur to touch Kisvei Kodesh from Rav Parnach. Or no, Rav Parnach was talking only about a Sefer Torah. And the mela other yadayim that touch other kisvei kedush are taken not metamei truma. It's a machlekes rishon. Zok Rabbi Akiva Eiger. So what's shitas Rambam? And here we come to the tzarich Rabbi Akiva Eiger, because the Rambam that we just read says that when you touch any kisvei kedush, you're metamei truma. No, Ebazeh, it sounds like he's learning like Tesvis in Masechta Shabbos, but the Rambam didn't mention the Parnach at all. The Rambam didn't mention the whole Isser of touching Kisvei Kedush, that is the source of the Isser. He didn't mention the Parnach. So if he didn't mention the Parnach, then what's the makir of Yodayim that touch all Kisvei Kedush? To be Metame. Where does the Rambam fit in? On the one hand, he says that you're Metame, that Yodayim that touch Kisvei Kedush are Metame, any Kisvei Kedush are Metame Truma. L'chura that fits according to Tosfos in Masechta Shabbos, that it's all the Isser, the din of the Parnach of Yodayim that touches Sefer Torah, but then it has to be not just the Sefer Torah, it has to be everything. So, B'kitzur, what is the Makir Udas Rambam of this din that Yodayim that touch any Kisvei Kodesh are Metame Truma? Which the Gemara says is based on the Parnach of Ha'eches Sefer Torah Orum is Nikbar Orum. The emes is the Rambam himself. The Rambam, it's clear aside from his words here in Mishnah Torah, but here in Pirash Mishnayos, the Rambam says that the din that the Rabbanon said that if you touch Kisvei Kedush, your hands become tummy, is a hemshich of the Gzeira and Kisvei Kedush. Yes, that they said the Kisvei Kedush are metamas eichlin because the Gzeira of Achborim, like he said in the beginning. So they said, and if you touch Kisvei Kedush, the same thing. So if you touch Kisvei Kedush, your hands make the eichlin truma. It's a hemshech of that Gzeira, like the Rambam says. Gazu ha mishum ha. They wanted to say the Kisvei Kedush are metame truma. And they say if you touch Kisvei Kedush, it's also metame truma. It's all a din in Kisvei Kedush. It's all a din mitzad the Gzeira on Kisvei Kedush, of that it can't come in contact with truma. So they said you can't touch the Kisvei Kedush also not, and it won't come in, and so that the Kisvei Kedush never come close to the truma, not themselves and not through your hands. The problem is, but the Gemara didn't say that. The Gemara on that we read in Masechta Shabbos asked, what's the makir? Not asked. The Gemara said, what's the makir that the Yadayim that touch Kisvei Kedush are metame truma midrav Parnach? And the Parnach said, Kol Eiches Sefer Torah Orum is Nikbar Orum. He wasn't talking about, where is the Parnach talking about Truma, a Gzeira of Truma, a Gzeira of Achborim. The Parnach was saying, you're not allowed to touch a Sefer Torah that's uncovered. So this is all the Tzarech Rabbi Akiva Eiger. The Rambam Kilo has his own makir. The Rambam says there's a Gzeira of Sforim, like the Gemara says, Kisvei Kedush. And then the Gzeira of Yodayim Haboim Machmas Sforim, the Rambam says is a hemshech to the Gzeira of Kisvei Kedush. Kisvei Kedush Metame Truma, and therefore they said Yodayim HaNoigim Kisvei Kedush Metame Truma. But the Gemara L'chura says something else. So this is something that the Achrinim are done in. So there's Machzah Shekel, Gabi in Hilchos Sefer Torah, where the halacha is over there about not touching the Sefer Torah, so he gets involved in this. And maybe Yehuda, if you someone was the Marmikemis, you took Encyclopedia Talmudis and Yodayim, and over there there's an arach about Yodayim, Haboim Machma Sefer, and then it brings the Marmikemis and Allah behandling them stikler Rambam. Again, the Rambam seems to be saying that when you touch a Sefer, your hands are metame, it's a hemshech of the Gzeira on all Kisvei Kedush, that it's because of the Gzeira of the Achborim. But the Gemara says, which sounds like it's a separate Isser altogether. How to be metavich? So I'm not going to go through, now is not the place to go through all the different answers. And it's not easy to learn the answers into the Gemara. I wanted to say maybe a word, Takem Yusuf of the Rebbe's Asicha. The Rebbe has a Sicha in Chelek Chov Gimel, in Parshas Chukas, which is a siyum on Masechta Megillah. And it's on this Reb Parnach Taket, because this din of Reb Parnach is in the end of Masechta Megillah. Here's brought in Masechta Shabbos as a makir for a different din of the Tumas Hayadayim Hanegim B'Sefer. The Rebbe tells us the Gemara Megillah, and he brings what the Gemara says. The Parnach says, Kol Eiches Sefer Torah Orum Nikbar Orum, and the Gemara says, Orum Sal Kadaitach, Ela Ema Nikbar Orum B'Le Mitzvahs, B'Le Mitzvah Sal Kadaitach, Am Rabbi Nikbar Orum B'Le Esa Mitzvah. The Rebbe read Arichus, I'm going to say Mamash Nekudas Hadvarim. What's the three steps, the three Kasal Kadaitachs? That Eiches Sefer Torah Nikbar Orum, or Arum B'lei Mitzvahs, or Arum B'lei Eisa Mitzvah. And the Rebbe read our room, and it says like this, that it's a shaila of how deeply the mitpachas, the mental of the Sefer Torah, how much chashivus that has. It's this that you have to hold the Sefer Torah using a mitpachas, how chashiv is that? One is that it's just a din in the Gavra that says, yes, that I can't touch the Sefer Torah, it needs to have a mental. Or the Rebbe says that a mitpachas is a din in the Kedusha of the Sefer Torah itself. It says, Meisif in Kovid ha-Sefer Torah misadatzma. Kovid Sefer Torah fodert azizal hoben ha-mitpachas. There's not a din in Gavra, achizas ha-odom, nor a din in der Chefze from the Sefer Torah. It says not only that because I have to have respect for the Torah, so I have to have the mitpachas, that's a din in the Gavra. Or the Sefer Torah itself demands a mitpachas. Gimel, dass nicht nur der geht zu Kovid Sefer Torah, nor sie ist verbunden und kommt von der Etzem Sefer Torah Kedushasa. The mitpachas like a hemshech of the Kedushasa Sefer Torah. And the Rebbe says, and again in the Sikha you'll see all the protim, but the Rebbe says that's the three dargis. If what's the oynish of midah keneged midah of the ha'eches Sefer Torah arum? Is it that is nikbar b'lei levushim, which is in yichitzeni, or nikvar b'lei mitzvahs, arum b'lei mitzvahs? That means he loses his mitzvahs b'chlal because of the covet of the Sefer Torah, or nikvar or b'lei eisa mitzvah. B'kitzur, the three steps in the Gemara is all deeper and deeper. The kesher of the mitpachas to the Sefer Torah, that it's not only a din in the Gavra, it's not only a din in the Chefze, it's actually a hemshech of the Sefer Torah itself. That's the Rebbe dort nagru. So I'd like to say Asher Azam in Vort, in explaining this sheet as Rambam, how his words are how they fit with the Gemara. The Gemara said that not only were the Chachamim Gezer, Tuma, but when Truma is Negeh in the Sefer, but even the Yodayim that are Negim in the Sefer are also Metame Truma. Midre Parnoch. Because if Parnoch said, Eiche Sefer Torah Arum, Kil Nikbar is Nikbar Arum, Arum B'lei Mitzvahs, Arum B'lei Eisa Mitzvah, the whole Ma'aser of Parnoch. That means the Gemara doesn't mention, Rav Parnoch is already talking about the punishment. Eiche Sefer Torah Arum, Nikbar Arum. And what's the gather of the punishment and how deep the punishment is. Rav Parnoch wasn't talking about the Etzem Isur. He didn't mention Asur Liga B'Sefer Torah. Rav Parnoch is already talking about the Hagdorah. Yes, that there's an Isur to touch Sefer Torah. So therefore you need a Metpachas. How deeply is the Metpachas connected to the Sefer Torah? This is where Rav Parnoch starts. Rav Parnoch is talking about what happens when you're an Eiche Sefer Torah Arum. How deeply is that mitpachas negea to the Sefer Torah? And he says the three dargas, Arum b'lei mitzvahs, Arum b'lei eisa mitzvah, like the Rebbe explains, there's three dargas in explaining how deeply the mitpachas is connected to Sefer Torah. But before that, there's the din that you're not allowed to touch the Sefer Torah. There's the problem with touching the Sefer Torah, which Rav Parnoch wasn't talking about. Rav Parnoch was just talking about, okay, now that there's a din, you can't touch the Sefer Torah, so you need a mental. And that mental, how deeply is it connected to the Sefer Torah? The Gemara saw in Rav Parnoch that there's a problem with touching the Sefer Torah, which Rav Parnoch himself didn't talk about. Rav Parnoch was talking about if you touch it, what happens to you? Because how deep is the need for that mitpachas and all of the dargis? But before Rav Parnoch, there's an isser to touch the Sefer Torah. Where did that come from? So the Gemara understood that that's a hemshech of the issue that the gzeira and kisvei kedush. There's a gzeira and kisvei kedush because of achborim. There was an gzeira that kisvei kedush can't touch truma. And B'meila they said not just that, you can't touch it. If you touch it, that makes a problem as well. Oh, now that there's such an issur, so B'meila there's a need for mitpachas. How deeply is the mitpachas connected to Sefer Torah? And that comes to Parnoch. Be'efen, what am I saying? Be'efen, what I'm saying is, Rav Parnoch wasn't talking about the issur. Rav Parnoch was talking about the hagdorah. Yes, that you shouldn't touch the Sefer Torah, which is the hemshech of that issur of kisvei kedush that they're metame. So b'meila, so what did that do? How deeply did that make the mitpachas unnecessary chelik in the Sefer Torah? Rav Parnoch that I died. The Isur is on all kisvei kedush. The din, just like they said, the initial Gzeira was an all Kisvei Kedesh, that Kisvei Kedesh are Metamet Truma. That said, and when you touch Kisvei Kedesh, it's also Metamet Truma. Like the Rambam said, it was a Harchava of the Yisrael called Kisvei Kedesh. But this, that it affected, that the Mitpachas becomes like a din of the Sefer Torah, Hemshech the Sefer Torah itself, that's not only the Gabe Sefer Torah. Because the fact that you can't touch Kisvei Kedesh, and therefore it's Metamet Truma, that's all Kisvei Kedesh. Parnach said, but by a Sefer Torah that translated into a fact that it made that the Mitpachas is a Hemshech of the Sefer Torah itself. That's not a din of the Sefer Torah. That's why I didn't mention before. The Rambam Taka brings the din of Rav Parnach in Hilchas Sefer Torah only the Gabe Sefer Torah. Rav Parnach was talking about a Sefer Torah. And that is the Hagdorah, that this mitpachas becomes a chelik in the Sefer Torah. That's tak only by Sefer Torah. Domen zen zeir arayche zach taken yusir af noch asicha for. There's a sicha that Rebbe in chelik chof ches. The first one was chof gimel. I hope I said right. Chof gimel chukas. But now we're in chelik chof ches nosik. And here the Rebbe is medayik in a Rambam taken hilchas Sefer Torah. That the Rambam in the end of Perek Yudah Sefer Torah says mitzvah leyachid leSefer Torah mokim ulechabde ulehadre yisur midai dvorim shebeluches abris hinin shebachol sefer leSefer. The Rebbe is medayik that earlier in that Perek the Rambam said a lot of them have covered Sefer Torah. Why in the end did he say mitzvah leyachid leSefer Torah mokim? And the Rebbe read that room, and again the arichos you'll see inside that there's a din covered in the gavra that you have to be respected. But then there is that the Sefer Torah itself attains a mokim. That's the din that the Sefer Torah is mispashit and it has to have its own mokim. It's miyachid a mokim. In other words, in addition to covered hagavra, there is that the Sefer Torah gets its own chashivos and has to have its own mokim. I'll say, and the Rebbe is ma'arich over there. I'll say al derech's over here. The din that all kisvei kedesh are mitame is in all kisvei kedesh, and therefore all kisvei kedesh you can't touch them because your hands will be mitame is a harchav and all kisvei kedesh. By a Sefer Torah, that din becomes something much bigger. It creates a gather of mitpachas shel Sefer Torah. Ad kedei kach that ha'eichen Sefer Torah nikbar orim b'lei mitzvos, orim b'lei esim mitzvah, which is all dargis, and how that mitpachas of the Sefer Torah becomes a hemshech and a chiluk of the Sefer Torah itself. Be'efen al kaponim l'sakim, to finish off, that's the pshat of the Rambam, how the Rambam learned to shtikkel Gemara. The Gemara says, how do I know that not only the Sefer the Kisvei Kedesh are mitama yadayim, but how do I know that not only Kisvei Kedesh are mitama truma, but yadayim shenogu b'Kisvei Kedesh are also mitama truma? Midrav Parnach, because the Parnach said it in Eiches Sefer Torah arum nikbar arum. So the Parnach was talking about Sefer Torah, because by Sefer Torah that becomes a special gather in the mitpachas also. But that comes from but it starts from an Isser. The Isser is the Isser of Tashin Kisvei Kedesh, all Kisvei Kedesh, so not to be Metamet Truma. And by Sefer Torah, Rav Parnach took it a step further. The that the Rambam holds that the Isser of Negia, I'm sorry, not the Isser, but the fact that Negia B'Kisvei Kedesh makes a Metamet Truma is by all Kisvei Kedesh, and that was the Yesod of the Din of Rav Parnach. The Parnach says by a Sefer Torah, that becomes a darga further, that becomes something that's mitpachas becomes a chelik of the Sefer Torah, and that's what Rav Parnach was talking about. But before what it does to the mitpachas, it's all miyusad on the Isser Negia, the Din Negia, and that's by all Kisvei Kedesh, and that's how the Rambam Taka paskins that all Kisvei Kedesh, when you touch them, Yadayim are mitame.